You know, in cybersecurity, things are always changing. That's just the name of the game. But today, we're looking at a threat that isn't just changing the rules. It's ripping up the entire playbook and throwing it out the window.
I mean, listen to that. That's Michael Raji from Mandiant, and he's describing the new reality for cyber defenders. For years, we've all relied on these digital breadcrumbs, IP addresses, domains, what we call indicators of compromise, or IOCs. But what do you do when those breadcrumbs just evaporate almost as soon as you find them?
And that really brings us to this critical, kind of scary idea. Something folks are calling IOC extinction. The very tools and methods that defenders have trusted for decades are starting to fail because the clues they need to track attackers are just disappearing way too fast. So what does this IOC extinction actually look like on the ground? Well, an indicator, say a malicious IP address, that might have been useful for months is now totally useless in as little as 31 days. For defenders, it's got to feel like trying to follow footprints during a sandstorm. The trail just goes cold, instantly.
So what's causing this? What's the engine behind this whole extinction event?
Well, the culprit is a new type of highly sophisticated infrastructure. It's reportedly being used by state-backed actors, including some linked to China, to pull off these super stealthy long-term espionage campaigns. They're called ORB networks. Now, before we get any deeper, I want to be crystal clear. When we say ORB, we are talking about operational relay box. This is not that old-school tech term object request broker from back in the day, and it's definitely not the ORBs network crypto project. This is a brand new term for a very specific and very serious cyber threat. So picture this. An ORB network is like this massive ghost-like web made up of compromised home routers, random IoT devices, and servers that are rented anonymously. Now, unlike a classic botnet that's, just spewing spam or launching DDoS attacks, this thing is built for one purpose and one purpose only: pure stealth. It's a tool for laundering an attacker's digital identity, making them almost impossible to trace back to the source. Okay, so how in the world are these ghost networks even put together? You'd think they'd be a complete black box, right? Well, after digging through years of data, Mandiant actually discovered a kind of universal anatomy, a common blueprint that shows us how they're structured no matter who's at the controls. The whole game here is misdirection. An attacker's traffic never, ever takes a direct path. Nope. It's deliberately sent on this winding, multi-stage journey that's designed to completely wash their identity clean as it bounces through this complex mesh of nodes. Let's walk through the path of a typical attack. It's got 4 key stages. It all starts at the ACOS, which is the attacker's command server. From there, it jumps to a relay node where they log in. Then it gets totally lost in a huge sea of thousands of compromised traversal nodes. And finally, it pops out of an exit node, often chosen to be right in the target's own country, to launch the final assault. And the scale we're talking about here, it is just mind-boggling. In just one of these network families, Mandiant saw over 410,000 unique nodes scattered across the globe. And you have to remember, that's just what they were able to see. The real number is probably way, way higher. This isn't some small-time operation. This is industrial-scale espionage infrastructure. Now, these networks aren't all built the same way. They basically come in 2 main flavors. You've got provisioned networks, which are built from servers that attackers actually rent from commercial hosting companies. And then you have non-provisioned networks, which are built by hacking into thousands of vulnerable, often out-of-date home office routers. And a lot of the time, they're hybrids, using a mix of both. So you can probably see where this is all heading. The rise of these ORB networks creates this profound challenge for defenders. It's a whole new layer of complexity that basically breaks our traditional security models. It's what we can call the defender's dilemma. So what makes them so ridiculously hard to fight? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is that they're shared. So you might block an IP address that was used in one attack, but then tomorrow, a totally different hacking group could use that exact same IP. It creates the perfect cover. And it also gives them this incredible stealth advantage. I mean, an attack on a US company that looks like it's coming from a local home internet connection, that's far less likely to set off any alarm bells. This whole situation just forces defenders to ask these new, really difficult questions. First off, there's the problem of time. The network is in constant flux. That malicious IP address you flagged today, it could belong to a totally innocent person tomorrow. So how do you block a threat that literally won't stay put? Then you've got the whodunit problem, attribution. Since different groups can just rent access to the same network, you can't assume that two attacks from the same IP are from the same attacker anymore. So, are you fighting one enemy, or are you actually fighting several at once through the same fog?
And that leads right into the final headache, ephemerality. Or, how long is your intelligence even useful? With all these nodes being added and dropped constantly, a block list you build today could be almost completely useless in 60 days. And that leaves you with a really dangerous, false sense of security.
Okay, so the old playbook is broken. Now what? What's the new one? The security community seems to agree that fighting this isn't about buying some shiny new tool. It's about adopting a completely new mindset for defense. And here's the fundamental shift. We have to stop treating infrastructure as just some disposable list of IPs and domains to block. Instead, we have to start tracking the entire ORB network as a living, breathing, evolving entity, just like we do with the threat groups themselves.
So this new playbook means we start tracking these ORB networks by their unique behaviors and tactics. It means we have to adopt an assume breach mentality. We have to harden our most vulnerable points, especially our edge devices, like firewalls and VPNs, because those are the prime targets for getting sucked into one of these networks.
And really, Michael Raji's quote just sums it up perfectly. The focus has got to shift away from the individual actor and onto the infrastructure they're using. We have to apply that same deep tactical analysis to these networks that we've been applying to APT groups for the last 15 years. Look, the rise of these ORB networks is a major signal. It's a long-term investment by our adversaries to make their operations stealthier, more effective, and a whole lot more costly for us to defend against. So the real question we're all left with is this. In a world of disappearing footprints, how do we get better at tracking the ghosts in the machine?